Hello and welcome to this podcast of the sci-fi horror class. It's my turn to host this wonderful, humble crew
Your
of
name is?
movie people. I'm Will. I am one of the movie people. To my right is
Mason.
one of the movie people. And across from me,
I'm one of the movie people. My name is Big Vance.
let's just stick with Vance.
I didn't know Vance was a rapper all of a sudden.
Ricky
Well,
Morty.
Well, yeah. Well, there we go. So the movie we are reviewing / talking about / doing whatever is literally Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, which came out in 89 of the 1980s.
That was a great year.
Yes, because one of my favorite theme parks also opened that year. The Little Mermaid also opened that year, too.
And Ghostbusters 2.
And the Niners won the Super Bowl.
And Back to the Future 2.
Exactly. Which, that sucked because they
we're
lied
just
to
gonna
us.
glance over the part where our favorite football team just won a championship.
I don't give a shit about that.
Because it's not August yet. Anyway, for the sake of the movie, what did you two think about it? I'll let you two do it
You
first.
go first.
I'm not gonna lie, I thought it was more horror than sci-fi. Because they almost died how many times? If it was not a
I
kids,
honestly counted like 15.
if it was not a kids movie, they would have died, and it would have been a
Remember?
Let me ask you guys a question
ahead.
real quick. Before, I know you're hosting, but I want to ask a really quick question. If this wasn't Disney, what would that movie have truly been rated if it wasn't made by Disney?
Again, it depends. If
What
it was
would
a
you have
kids-
rated it? Take kids out, like if it wasn't made by Disney, it
Well,
was just made in a theater.
other
Warner Bros. We'll say.
Warner Bros makes kids movies.
What would we say if we don't consider a kids movie? What would you rank that, like true ranking?
It would have been
PG?
called Lord of the Flies, and
Fair.
it would have been literally rated probably PG-13,
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
even in the 80s.
Yeah.
Because they would have killed.
Not true, because Temple of Doom was only PG-13.
That
Yeah,
was
that
the
had
first.
Nazis in
That
it.
was the first 13
That had
that
Nazis in
it was. Temple of Doom did not.
I thought it. Oh no, round one. Yeah,
Yes, Temple of Doom did not.
I thought it did for some reason.
But yeah, in terms of Disney being the lovely Disney company that it is, back then, it was the start of the Renaissance era. 'Cause
That
it
was honestly
89.
kind of tame for a Disney movie. For like outside of like them shrinking, it was honestly kind of tame
You
for me.
you do realize it's Disney.
Yeah.
In the realm of they were trying to come back from kind of what they're doing right now,
They've had that a
coming
few
back.
times.
It's called relapsing. It's called history repeating itself.
So back to his question. What would you say was? You mentioned it was more horror than sci-fi. Why do you say that?
Well, like, the only sci-fi aspect of it was the fact that the dad's was an inventor.
Scientist. Yeah.
And then, like, the laser beam, as Will mentioned. in class.
Laser.
But, like, there was horror throughout the entire thing. Like,
No, really?
especially when
I had no idea.
All right, you guys can shut up. I am on a very short leash today, so shut the fuck up before I leave the room. Now, the horror aspects, they're like the insects and shit. And then like the fact that they almost died how many times, like I said before. I feel like there's more horror than sci-fi in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, from
It's not a bad take.
from a kid's perspective, yes.
Yeah.
That is probably the most horrific thing a kid can go through watching outside of Goonies.
I love that movie.
But like I'm talking about kids movies that were before our time that could actually push the boundary of
Like what is considered a
Temple
kids movie?
of Doom.
I don't
that
think
was
Temple-
geared toward adults,
That
but still
was.
that could kids
True.
watch.
Kids could see it, but it wasn't geared towards kids.
Ready,
brother-
They're
like
saying Goonies was the last true movie geared towards kids that was kind of risky.
My brother cried when he first watched Temple of Doom.
I would assume so. Yes.
No. Well, I think Will made a good point. That's what he's trying to say is like
Yeah,
Temple
no,
of
I get
Doom
it.
was geared towards kids, but it was pushing what was geared towards kids.
It was geared toward adults, but it was pushing towards what kids were allowed
Yeah,
to do.
It was pushing it like that.
Remember,
I
Okay,
get-
let
I
me
get
ask
what
you a
you're
question.
saying.
If that movie came out today, would you think? I don't think kids would be
Oh,
allowed to see it.
Temple of Doom would be rated R if it came out
I
today.
think I agree 100% with
If
you.
it made the same way.
Today, if it came, I'd be rated R.
The problem is every movie today for kids is either animated or they're not going to watch it because
That's
Kids
It's
are-
kids.
yeah, kids today are
short,
very
short attention span.
yeah. So
No, if it doesn't have a happy ending, kids won't
Well,
watch
they don't
it.
know that.
yeah,
Oh yeah, they do. It's called.
word
It's
of mouth.
it's literally unless their parents bribe them. It's called watching the Avengers.
Yeah,
They don't do it. if it's not under the Disney umbrella, kids don't care. Or Spider-Man, literally.
Yeah.
Somewhat
Not
Batman.
a bad
but-
take, but there are some movies that I think kids would still watch.
Okay, but
yeah, like Bluey.
that's a show.
But still, you
Yes,
get the
that's true.
point.
That's what I'm saying.
But
bright
you get
colors
the
and
point.
shit.
Like when you're playing when you were young, right, and you're playing a video game, what was the most appealing thing? Bright colors. Like
No.
for a lot of our generation, the things I've read, it said bright colors were the most appealing.
Well, I never
Is-
played video games till I was like 10.
Is that why Lego games are so appealing to me even now?
It's
Well, I
because
mean, I'm
Lego
going to say
games
something,
are
and you're not going
fun.
to get mad at me because I know you. You're a man child at heart, so
Yeah.
That's all.
But still-
You know I'm not wrong.
Even then, was that why I
But here's
was
the thing, am I
appealing to it as a
wrong?
kid?
Am I wrong about what I said? You
That's-
love your game. Like I'm not saying it's bad, but you liking Legos, no, that's not a problem.
No,
you can like
because-
what you like. That's no problem.
Because I honestly prefer to watch my stuff I grew up with far
Yeah.
more than watching anything that's new.
True.
What do you
because
think? What do you
it's
think the
scarier.
old school? Because again, you are of that age where you can actually comment on this. What do you think old school did better? What do you? Because we can't really speak on it.
What I would
I kind of.
What-
I'm from 03, but you're
I
from
can-
98. What do you think old school did better?
in terms of like growing up in a different era or what?
Yeah, in terms of like the TV and movies then versus TV movies today.
Well, even the TV stuff that I grew up with has nothing compared to what Humphrey and our parents grew up with.
Yeah. No,
Going
I'm saying
through high
compared.
school.
No, I'm saying compared to the two of us.
You guys have freaking Bluey.
Well,
That-
that's
that-
a little.
that's it.
That was a little after me. That was more his time.
That was after me too. I was 05.
But like literally, like you guys have the reruns of and even the spin-offs of whatever. You guys have Teen
Yeah.
Titans Go. I have Teen Titans.
Yeah, you had the good one from 03.
Like you guys have, I'm sorry, the knockoff brand of what I got.
It's not bad, but it's not 03.
It's I mean,
And I'm being fair here. It's not bad. It's not 03.
What? Teen Titans Go?
It's not bad.
Fuck that show.
It's not 03.
but here's the other thing. If you think about it from that perspective, the last good season of SpongeBob was right before the SpongeBob movie came out.
Yes,
Yeah.
After that,
it went downhill.
it's declined.
Yeah.
So I'm also in the golden era
Why-
of
I agree
SpongeBob.
with you, but tell the listeners why you believe it went downhill after
For
the movie.
one-
I agree with you though.
For one, the creator of SpongeBob wanted it to have the SpongeBob SquarePants movie be the end of everything.
Why wasn't it then? What do you-
Nickelodeon. Money.
No, I know. I was trying to get for the audience here.
Yeah, I know, but what I'm saying is that's literally
That was
it. They're
literally
like,
the reason, yeah.
what else? And they're like, at that time, we know now as adults what he's done, but we've all watched Victorious. We've all watched iCarly.
iCarly,
We've all
Drake and
watched all of
Josh.
that.
Yeah.
For one, I thought Drake and Josh was in the era of Zoe 101. I thought that was the
I
early
do-
90s.
I think the first season. Let me.
No, Drake and Josh was during my time in the early 2000s.
Yeah,
I thought it was all in the 90s. I
No.
thought outside of SpongeBob, I thought I was watching everything that my mom and dad watched in high school. Because Animaniacs was a part of that too.
Drake and Josh's first season was 04, so I was a year old when it came out.
I didn't exist yet.
I was
04
six.
To 07, 04 to 07.
I was six when that started. But still, like, I thought I was watching everything outside of SpongeBob.
That your parents had seen.
Rerun.
Yeah.
I
don't
wasn't
blame you,
realize
though,
it
because
was Jimmy Neutron. I knew was real though. That I was
What-
keeping up with that.
Why do
Jimmy
you again
Neutron.
back to those
Shut
kind of
up,
shows?
that was
Before
mine.
we get
That's
into
the
Honey I Shrunk the
shit, that's what I'm
Kids,
saying.
what do you now get into the movie side of it before we get into to what we're going to talk about? Why do you think movies in your time were better, or maybe even your parents' time?
For one,
What do you think it was?
people cared about their craft. For one, to make a story for the sake of a story, not pushing
Political
Republican,
ideology.
Republic, Democrat.
political
or
ideology, yeah.
It doesn't matter with
Yeah.
that, or even a religion or a certain
They
type of
care
life.
about what they're doing.
It was just good versus evil, whatever
make a
it
good
is.
movie.
Like literally,
Yeah,
think about it.
Make
The
a good movie. Yeah,
Disney Renaissance, even before me, every year from '89 to the end of the '90s, all of them outside of Pocahontas had won something
True.
at the Academy. If it wasn't the
And
score,
Pocahontas wasn't a bad movie at all.
it wasn't. But like it's overlooked because literally
didn't
that
win anything. Yeah.
that was the B team from the A team. Actually, no, Pocahontas was the A team. Lion King was the B team.
And Lion King won some awards. Pocahontas did.
It's It was literally no. Pocahontas did win stuff. It's just
It's not considered
in
the same level, yeah.
in terms of everything else, you go from Little Mermaid to Beauty and the Beast. No,
I
from
can look it up if you want me to.
No, wait. The Little Mermaid,
Mermaid.
was first.
then
I'll
Aladdin.
look up some Disney movies. Hold on.
No.
Aladdin was
Aladdin,
92.
Yeah.
92 or 91. And then reverse that with Beauty and the Beast. 97 was therefore Hercules. 94 was Lion King. 98 was Mulan. And then you get into, in the midst of all of that, Pixar started with Toy Story.
Yeah.
And then in 99, by the time that all happens, DreamWorks enters the picture. And then we get Prince of Egypt,
So
Road to
what
El
do you-
Dorado.
So
Ants.
now let's get into.
Fuck that movie.
Yeah, honestly. Okay, now let's get into Honey, I Shrunk the Kid. So back to the host here.
Yeah, so one, for the sake of,
Don't remember you go last with the facts. 'Cause you're the host. But
Yeah.
You have some questions for us.
so we've all honestly have seen this countless
A few times, yeah.
ish times growing up based off parents going, yeah, I seen that as a kid. Let's see how bad and raunchy this really is. Because we've all had those movies that our parents are like, oh, they should be fine. They watch it with us.
Nah.
How was I able to get away with watching some of this stuff?
You know what I think some of it is? Before phones were around, I think you were going off of what you saw in the trailers, and you couldn't have it. You couldn't really do a deeper
Well,
dive.
Well, not only that.
Well, I'm just saying I don't think you could do like a deeper.
Well-
My first time I watched it with I was with my cousins, and I was at their house, and then we had a babysitter, and she didn't know what she was looking at.
Well, I'm not just talking that movie. I'm talking our parents all were allowed to watch every Howard Hughes movie that came
Yeah.
out. Breakfast Club, etc., you name it. That's their generation.
They grew up with that, yeah.
They have Back to the Future. They have Indy. They have Star Wars. They have all of that.
Yeah.
And then they realize, Goonies isn't that bad. Within the first 10 minutes,
Something's yeah. Don't
it's
get, yeah.
it's literally, the kid goes, it's my mom's favorite piece. If you
We
know,
don't- if-
you know.
yeah. No, you're talking about.
Ironically, did you guys know that the one actor in that is actually Short Round? Mason, did you know that the one actor in Goonies is actually Short Round?
I did know that actually.
Actually, I did not know that till I got
I
older.
just whispered something
but-
to Will that if you guys know what I'm talking about, his favorite pieces.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
It's just straight up whatever it is. I already knew, hence how I brought that up.
So let me ask you a question.
What?
So why do you think, as a kid of the 90s, why do you think you were able, as a viewer, why were the people writing movies able to get away with more? Why do you think that is?
Because by the time of the 90s,
No, I'm saying as of the 90s, they started to dumb it down. But why do you think, like, when you could watch older movies, they were able to get, like, what do you think?
well, with me, with the early 2000s especially, with me being late 90s into that, especially coming through Disney, they built up a reputation for the good family viewing again. So why do you think in the early 2000s, through Kim Possible, through Phineas and Ferb, through the Buzz Lightyear cartoon, there's more innuendos and darker themes? Because they're able to get away with
a lot of
slight
different
stuff,
yeah.
because, ooh, it's the Disney branding. Ooh, that's fine. They can do that because it's Warner Brothers. That's a family safe kid thing. I can
It's
throw
family friendly.
I can throw whatever on. It doesn't
family
matter.
friendly.
I can just
When
watch
do you
one
think
episode
that
with it.
changed? The family friendly idea. When do you think, if you had to guess, you might not know, and that's fine, but when do you think the family friendly idea changed?
Whenever the millennials and the 90s kids that grew up with all of that
Yeah.
finally grew up and got out into the world
They saw all the
and started to just straight up, I hate ripping on people that
No,
are
you're fine.
in this age range,
But to be fair, you are including yourself, so that's yeah.
but also at the same time I am, but I'm not.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when they started to complain about every little insignificant detail of not just what's in their films, but what's there, I mean, that's how in
What
the
do you mean when they read too much into it?
I mean, for crying out loud, the early 2000s is where the caution hot on the McDonald's cup came from.
I know.
So, like, that's when the early 2000s hit,
Oh, they complained about every little thing.
and then the millennials finally started to get from the birthing to becoming 16, to becoming adults, they started to have the thing of whatever happens, happens, but I'm going to complain about every new detail. And because now
That doesn't mean anything, yeah.
now that I have a power called I'm 18, I can complain about anything I want.
I can use my voice.
No matter what,
yeah.
I have power. Hence how the whole, if you do anything wrong, look at me funny, whatever it is, the stuff we have now.
You can go to jail.
You can be sued, you can be whatever, and basically you can do whatever you
Yeah.
want. And that's pretty much all the scale with that. And that's how the companies had to
So
start
you
watching.
think it became? So you think sensitivity played a part in it?
Sensitivity, as well as like everyone keeps thinking, oh, my stuff growing up wasn't as bad. Then you like watch the stuff that everyone grew up with.
Seriously, watch what you grew up with, and then you'll probably
And then you
reevaluate it. Yeah.
Think about everything that
They'll probably
Nickelodeon had.
reevaluate it at that point.
Think about what Nickelodeon had in that time. They had Hey Arnold,
Great
Sponge.
show.
They're all great, but they had that, Rugrats,
George
and
Lopez.
well, not. I'm talking the animated stuff
Oh.
that basically everyone was like, it's a cartoon. It can't do
Hey
anything
Arnold,
harm.
Rugrats,
Cat
Cat
Dog,
Dog,
Racco, Racco or
Rocco's
Wacko?
World.
Wacko's World, and then you had Animaniacs on top of all of that. Nothing but chaos with cartoons, saying you can do whatever you want
No
and you can get away
consequences.
with it. Therefore, that's the problem that I think went to a lot of people in that age range's mind. Not everybody,
They can
because
get away with whatever they want.
my parents are the few exceptions, as well as hopefully others.
They can
but
get away with whatever they
there's-
want. Yeah.
there's some people that just grew up, and that's just true to even now.
Do you think that there's? Do you think there's an upside to growing up with that stuff? There's got to be something.
There's always upside with the life
What do
lessons
you
that you
think
can
it is
pull.
from being a kind of that generation? What do you see as kind of an upside?
For me personally, it's the looking at that and going, "Wow!" Like
In
literally,
terms of,
that's
wow. In terms of what?
in terms of wow. Like that's you're basing your entire life based off X, Y, and
show.
Z, not just TV show, but just based off. You think whatever you watch, no matter if it's a soap opera, live action wise, cartoon,
Doesn't matter. Yeah.
or even, ooh, I'm like Indiana Jones. I can go and search for anything, and I'm right. Therefore, that mentality is stuck. Therefore, the mentality of the 80s of good versus evil, good always will triumph. And no matter what the philosophy of either side is, no matter how strong both sides of the philosophy are, the villain will always lose because they're the evil bad guy. There is a literal black and white line
do you think
in
we
the way
got
of
to a time
that
where-
point.
I feel like we've gotten to a time now, and I feel like you can even speak to it better than we can. But I feel like there's become a time, and Mason, I kind of want your input on this. Do you feel like there's now with a lot of movies where villain is now the word villain is a point of view, like the good guy could be considered the villain based on a point of view? I believe that, I feel like we've gotten too much politics in movies where it's like now, even though he's a good guy, he could be considered bad because of my point of view. What do you think?
There's not just all of that, but like
But do you agree with what I'm saying? Do you
I
think
agree.
That he could be in the movie he could be called the protagonist, but maybe you don't see him as that way because you don't agree with his ideologies. That's to you he's the bad guy even though he's not.
what
Where
is
do
your
you stand on that? Oh, yeah,
what's
Mason,
your
go first.
hand over
Yeah, you
there?
go first,
If
Mason.
I can say this, I think that yes, that has become a more recent trend. But to be fair, you're not always going to agree with whatever the character is politically or whatever. So my brother explained it best to me, especially because if you get a story where the characters are not just black and white, evil and good, and you can kind of try to make them
Mold them.
Yeah, make them more than just you're good, you're bad, they battle, boom, boom, done.
Game over. Yeah.
That's making the characters a little more three-dimensional by making them conflict in different ideologies. That's where you can have a really good story.
And
I
that's why I think Batman and Joker are some of the best examples of that, because the reason Batman and Joker are very similar yet different.
One has one major rule.
No, it's because the reason why Batman doesn't break that rule is because once he does it, he would be no different
Than
than.
Joker.
It's just like the movie last night.
We'll get to that in the next
we'll do
one.
that in a minute.
Yeah.
But like, that's bring that up again in that one.
So But back to my point. So do you think there's a lot of now, even the good guy can be considered bad because it doesn't align with your belief?
Well, it's also kind of that on top of who they get to play each character. I mean, look at it from the Marvel perspective. They could have gotten anyone to play Loki.
They chose Tom Hiddleston for a reason.
Not only based off his good acting, but the reason
He's a hell
he's
of an
keep
actor.
No, not just that. The reason he's keep coming back is the same way Maul came back with Star Wars.
Ray Park, yeah.
Fans, for one. Bring them back constantly.
They're beloved Boba Fett, beloved character.
Not just any of that. But, like, there's also the female component of the fangirls of just Loki. The amount of women that I knew growing up
Was
that
it actually
only...
was it quite a few?
that pretty much, yes, they loved the Avengers because every single Avenger minus Black Widow was what? Male.
Yeah.
Muscular and strong. Loki was still that, but Loki has the other component that every
He's
girl
evil,
wants.
He's bad boy.
The bad boy.
Yeah, no, they're
So literally, it was a great time to be a young adolescent male
Or a young
loving
adolescent girl, yeah.
loving these superhero movies, going to these theaters with a bunch of women who probably knew nothing about comic books because the only thing they cared about was men on the screen. I know that sounds really bad,
But it's
but
true.
you know that
No.
it's true.
Here's the thing: it does sound bad, but is he wrong?
no. I remember 7th grade. What a year. That was fucking crazy. Every girl in my class would not shut the fuck up about the Avengers, and they didn't know shit about it. And I was like,
Oh my
Here's the
God,
thing,
Iron
but
Man
I
this.
think we've gotten to a
Yeah.
point now where you don't have to know about a movie. You like Will's an example. He doesn't have to know about the movie. He's just a big Ryan Reynolds fan. You don't have to know about if you like a certain actor, you're gonna go see the movie regardless.
okay, but
Or
they,
if you just like abs, you're just going to go to the movie because you just like abs. I
no, they
mean,
were talking. They didn't say Tom Hiddleston. They were saying Loki. They were
That's
calling
the
Loki
biggest
hot.
point.
No, I'm not saying that's different. That's different. I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's some people like me. I'll watch a movie more so for an actor than anything else.
Yes, but
That's what we do because we're movie nerds.
Yeah.
The average person that goes to the film that these companies are making money from are only doing it because, ooh, Loki's attractive, not the actor that's attached to it.
Not Tom Hiddleston.
How many people, we were kind of talking about this earlier, how many girls are only going to Taylor Swift stuff because they have the personal connection because of breakups?
true.
Not
I can't
necessarily.
argue with that. I really can't.
Not necessarily we like her music. It's more like she's writing to me.
We appeal to it.
She's
We relate
writing
to it. Yeah.
It's like the whole with the Kylo Ren stuff being like
They
self-centered with it all.
They relate.
It's that way. And also, someone literally liked episode 8 solely because Kylo Ren had the shirtless scene.
I know. Yeah.
So I mean,
I
like
believe it.
you have that. Then you have Guardians of the Galaxy, which is the same aspect. You have all of that. And then you have nerds like us that'll go because we know the source material and how many
We
of
know
us
about the movie and what it.
not only that,
Yeah.
how many of us go to the heroine movies for the same aspect?
I could honestly claim that the last 3 Star Wars were heroine movies. I could claim that.
I know,
'Cause
but
the
how
Jedi was a female.
but how many of us go to yes, we know the source material,
Yeah.
but because we are young men trying to figure out our own stuff. And it's a
You good
woman
there,
on the
mate?
screen.
You good
No,
there, mate?
because I hit the chord that was true.
My brother went and watched the Marvels.
Mike, close to the mic. Close to the mic.
My brother went and watched the Marvels. He's the only person I've ever seen who went to the theater to
And
watch
saw the
Marvels.
Marvels.
Yes, that's why.
Now, see, I never went to the theater.
I didn't either. I watched it on Disney Plus.
I watched it there for 2 reasons. One, yes, Brie Larson.
Yeah.
Second reason,
an
I
actress.
need to literally know how this fits into the rest of it. I don't care if it's good. I don't care if it's bad.
He and I are
That's
more
it.
so like we talk about this a lot. He and I don't care about the actors with movies. More so, how does this fit the timeline?
Yeah, no, I watched it because it's MCU too, but he went into the theater.
He
solely
went
because
into
of
it
the
because of Brie
females?
Larson. Yes.
He went into
So-
it probably not opening night, but
Again.
like the night after.
Again, how many people are going to see Mad Max not because it's Mad Max, but because it's Anna Taylor-Joy? Not just because of it being her.
Furiosa, yeah.
Not just because of the character. Not just because of the actress, but because it's a female badass.
True.
Yeah.
How many people
But I think
watch
we've had
the?
a lot of that recently.
But that's the point. It's finally the switch. How many of us guys went to Wonder Woman?
I didn't.
But have you seen it?
Which one? The first one? 84? No.
The first one.
No, 2017's.
No.
84 is bad.
84 is bad,
I
but the
haven't
first
seen-
one's good.
I've heard 84 is pretty good. I've heard both.
The only thing good in that is Chris Pine.
Yeah.
I haven't seen either of them. I've heard they're
But-
good, though.
They are.
You know, it's
but
kind
like,
of a weird thing to say after our whole.
I know.
It is
like-
weird. It is weird to say, but again, we got to be truthful.
But the point being, I go to his
No, I
movies.
get your point.
I go to his because I like Chris Pine. I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to admit I have some guy celebrity crushes. I do.
Here's the thing. We talked about on the car ride to the movie. We're going to talk about another time. Yesterday, we were talking about why we watch movies, and he said in the car ride over, I watch Ryan Reynolds movies. They might not be good movies, but he said I'm not afraid to admit I watch it for Ryan Reynolds. It could be a terrible
Ryan
movie,
Reynolds movie is great. 'Cause
but
of
here's the
Ryan
thing:
Reynolds.
some of them aren't. If we're being honest,
Green Lantern.
some of them
Fair.
just aren't. But as Will admitted, he's not afraid to say, "I'm going to watch it for the actor." He admitted that. Like,
Yeah.
and I feel like that takes him because I'm the
Now-
same way.
Now, how many of us will just go, I just love this female actress because it's a female actress. Therefore, is that I like the actress or it's because of
It's the certain female, yeah.
Is it because it's female or is it because I'm liking what she is as a person?
That's a good point.
That's what I have to check. Now, when it's a guy, I don't have to worry about it.
So what about jumping into the Honey I Shrunk the Kids? What was your fact?
Your source.
Yeah, because he's the host. I'll let him take
CommonSenseMedia.org.
this.
Movie reviews. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, by Scott G. Mignola. This was definitely AI written by some of the stuff on here, but
Can you tell?
yes, you can tell.
Okay, read the clunky dialogue
Read
of the
a
article.
little bit of the clunky dialogue and then get into the facts. Like read an AI part and then get into like the actual
All
factoid
right, so
of it.
at the very top, all it says is silly but occasional scary 80s movie. Has lots of peril. That's
That
all-
basically
literally-
sums up the
That's-
movie.
That's yeah. I mean, I could believe a human wrote that. I honestly could.
Okay, review over. That right there sums it all up.
It actually has some questions here
Go ahead.
for us to ask. Talk to your kids about ... Here's 3 bullet points for us. Families can talk about the nerdy inventor character. Does he seem familiar? What other movies can you think that have a character like this?
Flubber.
Why do we see so many stereotypes in movies? Does this
Every
bother
single
you?
nerd ever.
Flubber.
It's not just that. It's called the every single nerd dad
I know,
ever.
but he said think of a movie. I'm saying flubber. He said think of a
Ghostbusters.
movie.
Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were Rabbit.
Avengers
You're not
Endgame.
wrong at all.
Avengers Endgame.
But Iron Man's a cool nerd. There's a difference between the
He's
quirky
still-
nerd.
A nerd's a nerd.
But a cool nerd is different than the one nerd of the typical jockey weird.
Fine, Spider-Man.
There you go.
Yeah.
Because Peter Parker's the typical nerd.
True. All right, here's the next one.
All
How are teens in the 1980s depicted in this movie, and how are they similar to and different from teens who are depicted today?
Rebellious.
I'm gonna we'll answer that one first.
It's basically rebellion, and that's never changed, and it never
Rebellion
will.
has not. No, there's still rebellious teens. I feel like the way it's different
is dancing in the kitchen.
No, not even that. Demeanor about how the kids like perceive themselves. I feel like today we care more about looks and how we're perceived, whereas back then, from talking with my parents, they didn't care really how like others thought about them. They were more just, I like it, so it's fine. I'll be honest. I've worn stuff when I was younger that I'm like, I don't like it, but I'm trying to please other people, so I want them to like it. I feel like more in the 80s and 90s, from what I've talked with my parents, they would wear it because they liked it. They didn't care if no one else liked it. I feel like that's what was like. Like there was a couple shirts I saw. I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't wear that. But again, it's not about me. It's about what they like.
Also, a great depiction of the 80s movie would have been The Breakfast Club. The personalities of high school that are still reminiscent today,
But he again,
they
bring it back to
didn't-
this movie though.
they didn't give a shit about
Yeah.
what they were wearing
Yeah,
with everything or what they were doing. They didn't give a shit.
I agree.
Literally, that's what it is.
True.
Now, if that was made today, it would not only would be rated R, but do you think they would have?
They wouldn't even probably make it today.
I'm not even going there.
The Breakfast Club or this?
This.
Okay.
with Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, do you think, regardless if it was Disney branded or not, do you think they would have had sex?
Oh, Jesus.
No.
Because of how, like, it's so common now to have
Okay.
them being so close, etc., blah, blah, blah.
If they wanted to be realistic, yes. If not, then no.
And even if they didn't want to show anything, they can still hint at everything, because
yeah.
every movie that was made in the 80s that would hint at a young romance made today, I believe they would have pushed the envelope, would have been rated R because of the fact that they would have actually done that. Because look at everyone nowadays that we have. Sex is a normal thing to do outside of marriage. It's not
normal now, yeah.
It's not something to do like, ooh, we're not gonna do that till.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All
segue
right,
here.
What's your next?
Last
give us a few
question.
more, we'll go quick.
Last question.
We're 30 minutes in.
If this movie was remade today, how would the special effects be different?
Can I take
CGI.
this one? Can I start with this one? So I feel like it'd be different because the fact that CGI would play more of a role. But I honestly think the CGI, I'm going to be completely honest, would make the movie worse. Because of the fact that it would be so easy that a lot of the practical effects, I feel like, would be taken out, and it would be harder to believe. That's me. I don't know about you two, but I believe it would be harder to believe as a watcher of the movie.
Yeah.
What about you?
Like I said, for the best movie I can compare it to is Ant-Man, and
Yeah.
I liked the practical effects in this a lot more than the CGI.
I liked it more than
in
I thought
Ant-Man.
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing: the fact you're not seeing too is, yes, it's hard to then therefore see a remake become CGI. But when it was CGI first, can you foresee it going back and being a
It would be
practical
harder
effect?
to do, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. If it's made
If
first,
it's practical first.
if it's practical first, it's hard to redo it.
Yeah.
And if
'Cause
it's
it's better that
CGI
way.
first, you can't go back to a practical effect
No, you
because it
can't.
wouldn't look right because you're used to seeing
Do
it
you
the way it
think
was
there's
first.
any way one could go, in your opinion, from CGI to practical, in your opinion, and make it work somehow?
All of the original trilogy, I think, would kind of blend perfectly better if they would redo especially the entire episode 4 and 6 Death Star battle
Okay.
with CGI to make it look like the Battle of Coruscant and Revenge of the Sith. That would be probably better. If you tarnish the battle in the snow in the beginning of Empire, that would be terrible. If you make the AT-ATs CG instead of the practical effects that they were,
Yeah.
that would be terrible.
AT-ATs, yeah.
But I would think that you could CGI the Death Star
I feel like that could work.
and make that work.
Because,
both
again,
of them.
space is so unknown that you could make it look like you could make space look however you wanted and no one would bat an eye because space is it's always changing.
Every single space battle in the original trilogy
I'm
could
saying,
be
But I'm saying
CG.
space is always changing, so
Yeah.
you could make the sky look any way you want, but no one would bat an eye.
The only thing
So you
in
think if every space battle was CG, do you think it would be more, in your opinion, would it be more believable to you?
the only thing, yes, but
Okay.
the only thing that's hard for me would be whatever that worm thing is called that tried to eat the Falcon in Empire. I'm not sure how I would
it's not
feel.
it's not a Sarlacc. I forget the name of it.
I don't know what it is either. Doesn't matter. But like whatever that thing is that tried to eat the Falcon, I don't think that would look good if that was CG'd. Much like bring back Puppet Yoda for 2 and 3, and 1, or
It's called
just
the Exogorth.
okay. Well, there you go.
I'm not saying that 100. Yeah, here.
I don't care what it's called. I just thank you for saying that. But what are your over there?
I agree. Oh, my facts.
Yeah.
Mine is from it's called mentalfloss.com, and it's 19 interesting facts about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The first one is Stuart Gordon, the horror director behind Reanimator, came up with the idea Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He wasn't the first filmmaker to think of the Disney film with a background in experimental theater, including a trippy and the nude version of Peter Pan. He made his name with campy horror films like 1985's Reanimator, about a scientist who brings the dead back to life, and 1987's Dolls, about a murderous collection of dolls. Tagline: they walk, they talk, they kill. After becoming a father, Gordon decided to make a kids movie along with Brian Usna, who had worked with him on Reanimator, and Dolls with writer Ed Neha. Gordon came up with the idea about the film about how Savannah accidentally shrinks his kids and throws them out in the garbage. He pitched the idea to Disney, who loved it and gave him the green light. The second one I have is Honey, I Shrunk the Kids' original title was Teeny Weenies.
That would have probably worked if they were all male.
I feel like that right there would have made the movie not a kids movie.
That does sound like Sausage Party.
A little bit, yeah. 3. Disney was really nervous about Honey, I Shrunk the Kids because of the fact that they didn't know. Here's what it says. The studio told Gordon they wanted Auntie to look less like a real ant and more like E.T. That said, while E.T. scared more kids than an ant does, according to Gordon, to convince the brass at Disney, Gordon invited them to the workshop where crew members were putting the finishing touches on the robotic puppet of the ant. Gordon made Auntie nuzzle him like a horse to show how friendly the creature could act, just so they were convinced.
They basically made a dog an ant.
A little bit, yes.
Kind of like what
It's animatronic.
Kind of like what Scott Lang did with Antonio Banderas.
Number 4. Joe Johnston replaced Stuart Gordon as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids director at the 11th hour. So Stuart got sick and had to leave the set and wasn't able to shoot. So they had to replace him.
And then that leads into the what if factor of what it would have been.
What do you think it would have been, in your opinion? Want me to read a little bit of it to you so you can get an idea?
Yeah.
Just as production on the film was set to begin, Stuart Gordon became sick and had to leave the set. Unable to delay the shoot, however, Disney brought in Joe Johnston, a visual effects specialist who had worked on Raiders of the Lost Ark and 3 Star Wars films. It was his first directing job. After the success of Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Johnston went on to direct The Rocketeer, Jumanji, Jurassic Park 3, and more recently Captain America: The First Avenger. Gordon, meanwhile, finally got a shot at directing Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, albeit 10 years later, helming one episode of the television show that ran for 3 seasons in the late 90s.
Well, for one, at least he got the part of it. But think about it. If he never got a shot with that, he would have never have had the chance to do Rocketeer and everything else that he did. Most notably, the first Avenger, obviously. But, that's kind of the only big one that actually is probably stuck. Yes, I know what the Rocketeer is, and I know what Jurassic Park 3, but it's Jurassic Park 3.
What a great movie. That's my favorite out of all of them.
But, literally, of those 3, now, I love Rocketeer as well and all that, but
It's a good movie.
when the biggest thing is the first Avenger.
He helped with Star Wars and Raiders.
I know, but
He didn't direct, he helped.
that's the difference.
Yeah.
He helmed those,
Helped.
and the biggest helm was helmed. He directed
Yeah, I'm
those.
saying he helped with Raiders and Star Wars, yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of that.
Yeah.
But that's kind of with that one.
Then I got a couple more here.
Yeah.
So I'll go quickly. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was filmed in Mexico City. The ant took up to 12 workers to operate. 7. If you look closely, you might notice that Marisa Strassman's hair was 2 different colors. So she played Diane, the mother.
The mother.
Her hair was 2 different colors if you look closely. 8. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sets used a lot of foam for when they got swept away in the dustpan. That was foam all over their bodies. 9. The kids in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Bumblebee fight required some technical wizardry. So it was an animatronic bee as well.
Yeah, because that would make sense. It was that with the bee, the scorpion, and the ant.
This was one of the first kids' movies that have animated opening credits.
Oh, cool.
Wow. So technically, with the success of this, I guess they took inspiration. Mason, you can look this up over there. When did Lampoons come out? Christmas Vacation.
Oh gosh,
89.
I own this. I should know. Yeah, I think.
Did
so.
that come out in 89?
Yeah.
Let me look it up because I own this. I should know this.
Because it looks like it was done by the same people, like the same
Yeah,
art
it came out
style.
Yeah,
89,
December 1st.
89, yep.
89, yeah.
So that entire, I guess that was an 89 thing for live action movies to have animated opening segments because they both do.
To be fair, I don't know if Christmas Vacation is a kids movie.
It's
no,
not.
it's not. But like the style of animation that they do for Santa is the same style they did in the beginning of that movie.
Yeah. That's,
Which I think is interesting.
oh
And
yeah.
then we have
for
another
sure.
one here. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids opening credits were also grounds for lawsuit because
Oh,
the
boy.
song that they used sounds very similar to the 1937 song Powerhouse by jazz composer Raymond Scott.
Huh. Disney getting into trouble already.
That's interesting.
And then, go ahead.
Because
Oh.
there was another lawsuit I read about while I was researching this.
Oh boy.
Where is it?
Go- I-
According to CB,
Okay.
according to CBR, where the hell is it? Here it is. According to CBR, there's something on here. I don't know where the exact quote is, but basically, Marvel was trying to develop an Ant-Man movie in the 80s, at the
I
same
did
time
know
as
that.
this was coming up.
How but why would it be? I get the ant problem, but like I would sooner that like DreamWorks would sue for the idea of ants
Yeah, I know.
You would
to
think
Disney before that.
Will, you would think that, wouldn't you? One would think that. I don't blame you for thinking that.
But like
Next one,
it's like
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids was actually a
duh.
surprise hit. Opening weekend, it made $14 million.
what was it running against?
That's more so for him. I'm just reading.
I
it.
got you. What is it?
What was Honey I Shrunk the Kids
was it
running
running against
against
in
opening
theaters?
weekend?
It made $14 million opening weekend.
Because if there was running against nothing, then that's kind of why.
It earned more than $130 million domestically and $92 worldwide. Well, Batman contributed to Honey, I Shrunk the Kids' success.
Batman?
Michael Keaton, first one, came out in '89.
Oh,
It
yeah.
contributed.
Okay.
Here's how. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids opened on June 23rd, 1989, the same day as Tim Burton's Batman, which finished #1 at the box office and had fans lining up around the block to see it.
Adult movie,
According to
kid
the LA
movie.
Times and other sources, many theatergoers who couldn't get in to see the Batman opted to see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids instead, helping to boost the movie to #2 at the box office.
So it had nothing to
They
do
couldn't
with.
get in to see Batman.
So it had nothing to do with Batman's Too Dark. Let me take my kids. It
They
was.
couldn't. They literally couldn't
It was.
get tickets.
It was mainly
All right,
Batman 2 filled up.
These were the movies that came out in June 1989.
Batman.
Last Crusade, Batman, Ghostbusters 2, Dead Poets Society, Star Trek 5, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, Field of Dreams, See No Evil, Hear No Evil, No Holds Barred, Roadhouse, K9, Pet Cemetery, Renegades, Pink Cadillac, Rain Man, Major League, Beaches,
A
Scandal,
lot of good movies.
Twins, The Karate Kid Part 3, Say Anything, Scenes from the Class Struggle in Beverly Hills, Fright Night Part 2, High Hopes, The Adventures of Baron, Great Balls of Fire, Do the Right Thing, Wuthering Heights, Vampire's Kiss, and Far From Home.
So
A lot of good movies.
literally, you had an ending of a franchise,
A beginning of one franchise.
the sequel to a franchise,
So you had the ending in The Last Crusade. You had the start of Batman. The
This-
middle of a franchise. Yeah, go ahead.
with Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
Then you had how many other great? You have freaking Dead Poet Society in there.
That's a
Yeah.
great movie.
Like
That's
Looking back in
Robin Williams is a
retrospect.
great actor.
looking back in retrospect in 2024, how did this like
35
hit-
years ago, literally.
How did Honey I Shrunk the Kids reach so much money going up against the likes
just
of
read
it.
Last
Numbers-
Crusade?
I
Guys,
just read it, though.
It's number 6. It's behind. The only ones that beat it were Last Crusade, Batman, Ghostbusters, Dead Poets Society, and Star Trek.
Okay, so the only one I don't agree with is Star Trek 5.
But
'cause
this
it's
is what
Star
I'm
Trek
saying
5.
here is what I'm saying here is they couldn't see Batman, so they went to see this because they literally couldn't get tickets.
Well,
Okay, but like
that would be cool too, and it is. But like, think about it. You can't get into Indiana Jones. You can't get into Ghostbusters. You can't get into Batman.
Yeah.
Where else do you go?
Yeah.
You can't get into Star Trek.
Go see a kids movie. Yeah, go see a kids movie.
But
Those are why the first 5.
okay,
Yeah.
but the Karate Kid is on here too. Why?
No, this was #2 first week behind Batman.
Oh, well, this
That's
is
This
be-
wasn't 6; it was
well,
#2 first.
this
week.
is just all of June.
That's why
Oh,
it's
yeah.
all of the
this
June.
was late June, and at first week it was second behind Batman.
Because probably if you look at the releases, they didn't want to put Batman right next to Last Crusade
Indiana
Yeah.
and
Dead Poet
Ghostbusters,
Society. Dead Poet Society too.
and no one wanted to put anything next to a Robin Williams movie.
No. Okay, 14.
Why wasn't Karate Kid Part 3 any higher?
Eight.
What number was it?
Number 20.
Out of how
Wow.
many?
30.
Wow.
That's bottom third.
And that one has a Netflix series now.
Yes,
That's
it
amazing.
does.
So does Star Trek.
Disney revived the long dormant animated short with Honey I Shrunk the Kids, with the Roger Rabbit short Tummy Trouble. A couple more. Honey I Shrunk the Kids earned an award for poor grammar
Uh-oh.
called the Dunce Cap Award.
That's crazy.
Interesting.
2 more. Only one Honey I Shrunk the Kids actor is still working.
Let me guess. Is it Rick Moranis?
Nope, Robert. It says.
That's crazy.
Let's read here. The little Russ Thomas Wilson, only one who still works, and he only works sporadically.
So the guy that broke the window is the only
Yes.
actor.
Interesting.
Rick Moranis retired from acting in the mid-'90s, but is coming back.
Interesting.
And then 19th, Honey I Shrunk the Kids is basically a horror movie.
Yeah,
That's kind of
But that's the last one on here.
But that's kind of a no-brainer.
All right.
So
So, what were your thoughts, honestly? But number 2 behind Batman for the last week of June
With-
of '89.
with especially, I think Disney has always been good.
no
at
fucking way.
what?
This is domestic gross for all movies of 1989.
Can I guess?
Go ahead, but
Is it in the? It's in the billions, obviously.
well, I don't know. This is the total gross.
For all movies of '89,
Yes, this is all movies.
is it in the billions?
No.
There's no way.
No,
it's
not
in
the not the combined money altogether.
Oh.
This is ranking every movie by how much money they made.
What's number 1? You mean?
Number 1, it's going to be Batman, obviously.
Yeah, Dead Poet is.
No, I thought that was going to be Last
Dead
Crusade.
Poet. Dead Poet.
Last
in there?
Crusade is number 2.
Dead
There you
Poet
go.
3.
All right, let me just say it.
Give me the top 10.
I'm going to give you the top 10. Number 1 is Batman. Number 2 is Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade. Number 3 is Lethal Weapon 2. Number 4 is Rain Man. Number 5 is Honey I Shrunk the Kids.
Damn.
Number 6 is Look Who's Talking. Number 7 is Ghostbusters 2. 8, Dead Poets Society. 9, Parenthood. And 10, Back to the Future 2.
So these actors didn't know this. They were in a pretty popular damn movie.
Well,
Well, think
about
about
it.
that. They were in
Well,
the fifth
by the way,
most
my
popular movie of fifth highest grossing movie in 1989,
By
and
the
they
way-
had no idea.
So Humphrey doesn't yell at me. My source is boxofficemojo.com.
but here's the other part with that one.
That's impressive, though. Top 5
Not
in
only-
kids movies, top 5.
Not only that, think about it this way. Disney has always been notorious for what?
Making
No,
weird movies.
not only that. Not only making lots of money for the quality and whatever else. How do they keep doing it? By finding the most adult film to pair their most kid film with. Therefore,
I know what you mean. Explain for him.
No, I get what you're saying.
when you have your older kids and even adult children that come with you to the theater, etc., like us, be like, we want to watch, literally, if Disney was smart, they would have released Inside Out next to Furiosa. They would have put lots more money into
I think
Inside Out
Furiosa
too.
still would have destroyed it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Are you going to take your 5-year-old daughter
To see
to Furiosa?
No.
You're going to take her to Inside Out too. Therefore,
I think it still would have destroyed it, though.
I know it would have. But Disney still would have made lots of money
would have
off
made
Inside
more
Out
money,
too
yeah.
for all the little kids going there. That's how Disney makes their money more than
They
anything.
do it next to a
They
Batman
play-
or a Last Crusade.
They play the audience.
Off the adult movies.
They play it off the really adult movies. So if Disney's smart, they'd get a movie ready to release next to Alien. When that comes out in August, bring out a movie in the theater next to it. Because you're not going to bring a
What do you-
5-year-old
what do you-
to Alien unless you're Humphrey.
True.
Well, they won't even let a 5-year-old in, regardless, adult or not.
Especially nowadays.
Yeah,
But
even if you have, because you have to have an adult with you. I don't think you even let a 5-year-old in. Even if you have an
Interesting.
adult with you, I don't think they would.
Interestingly enough, on Wikipedia is 1989 in film page.
Yeah.
The highest grossing films, Honey I Shrunk the Kid is number 8.
it's because
It's
it
a
went
good
up against
movie.
Batman. So therefore,
True, but it's
But
still,
I feel like we're selling it short. It was a good movie.
it was all right.
yeah. You say that now. What do you guys think that the score is? Don't you dare look. Look over there at the window.
Turn your computer, just to be fair.
I'm not looking. I'm
Okay. Give us a range again before we
80s.
go.
We'll go 80s.
No.
90s,
No.
70s,
One of them's in the 70s.
60s.
Lower than that for the other one.
Whoa.
That's crazy.
50s?
Yes.
52 and
I'll go
72.
52 for critic.
What for critic?
52.
No and no, not for the 50. Go
50
two up.
52 for
54.
54 is for
Critic.
audience.
the audience.
Oh, interesting.
Critic 71.
Up.
73.
5.
One more.
6. Wow.
So it was not well received
By
Nah.
the fans.
or by the critics.
I feel like 70s is okay by the critics.
Yeah, it's just mid.
It's yeah.
Yeah, but literally, think about it. How can a movie that does this
Go up against.
Gross that high.
gross it? It's because it's going up against
But
everything
again,
else.
you're selling it short. It was a good movie.
It
I'm not
was.
saying it's not.
It wasn't well received though. That's the issue.
It's kind of like, think about The Thing. It's a great movie now because everyone's watching it. When it came out,
It was going up against E.T. Yeah.
because even though that by the time that this movie came out, you had still Last Crusade in the theater.
Batman
You
just
sh-
came out.
Not only Batman just came out, but Ghostbusters probably either came a little later or before.
Well, this was last week of June. This was June 23rd. So this
So
is the
think
last
about
week
it.
of June. Yeah.
Everything else is still there.
Ghostbusters came out in June 16th.
So yeah, it was a week before.
It would definitely still be in.
Yeah, that just came out. That was a week before. Yeah.
When did Back to the Future get in?
November 22nd. So yeah, that
Way
wasn't
later. It was 5 months later.
Yeah,
When did Dead Poet?
June 2nd.
So that was early June. So that was 3
It
weeks.
was still
that was
going to
3
be
weeks
in.
Before.
It was still going to be
Yeah, it
in.
would
still be in.
It'd still be
yeah.
in, but I'm saying it would be big, but it was 3 weeks earlier.
When did The Little Mermaid come into the theater?
That's a
Because that's
That's a good
1989 as
question.
well.
That's a good question.
November 17th.
So 5 months
So-
later.
That Back to the Future fought Little Mermaid and still
Yep.
beat that.
Yeah.
And I would suggest.
And those are both Disney movies.
and
No, they're not.
No.
Back to the Future's Universal.
No, I'm saying Little Mermaid. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
But also you're looking at live action versus their animation.
yeah.
True.
Now my other source that I had is because in the same year of that, Hollywood Studios opened.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
And because Disney likes doing everything that's hype, in 1989, when it opened, they had the playground there
Oh yeah.
next to the back lot. It was actually called
The playground.
Honey, I Shrunk the Kids movie set.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's literally, you shrink down to the size of the insect as if you are on set. Because the entire premise was you're in the back lot of a movie theater, movie set and everything, blah, blah, blah. So basically, it's like literally the set. So the grass slides, etc., blah, blah, blah. And then in Epcot, they had Honey, I Shrunk the Audience, which took over Captain EO for a bit. But I mean, that's kind of my spiel. So my sources for the rating is obviously not that, Rotten Tomatoes. And then this one is laughingplace.com for the good old Disney theme park enthusiast that I am.
I remember that playground. That was fun.
Oh, so do I. I have ish memories in that by sliding down a grass slide.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So before we go, any last things, guys?
An interesting film. I don't know how it didn't scar our parents further in life than what it probably did.
So let me ask you a question, Will, because you seem genuinely shocked that this movie did this well. What about it shocked you that it did this well? Like, honestly.
It's either, again, Disney playing the movies around it to be like, we're gonna put it here
Because they
To
can't
make-
see these, so go
to
see
make
this one.
to make bank off the fact of
They
other
can't
studios
see
are doing.
Indy or Batman. Yeah.
Yeah, because like I'm pretty sure that they have the ability to go into the screenings of X, Y, and Z, whatever, to be like. One, back then Disney had more the proper way to be like, can we do it to then therefore judge everything to make something off of it, so we're not doing it. They probably looked into how Ghostbusters was and goes, they didn't even have to probably go into that. They probably did have to sit into Indy though and be like, well, the ending's gonna scare the living shit out of some kids.
Yeah.
So we're gonna
Let's just not see that. Yeah.
we're gonna put something around in that part.
So,
like,
but you still haven't answered. So, what? Why did it shock you that this movie did well, though?
Besides the actors themselves, I mean, I think the other thing is just the premise with it being as goofy as it is, and I think with the internet not being a full-on thing yet, and no one really being able to be like, "Ooh, this is what this is." It's more like, "Ooh, this actor's in it. I'm just gonna go for the sake of the
Like
adults."
for Batman, you went for Michael Keaton or Jack Nicholson, probably.
For the adults, yes. For the sake of, I'll at least be able to laugh at him to sit through this.
Yeah.
And then once one person sees it in a town,
Yeah.
it then spreads to be like this is a kids movie, but it's not feel so much like it where you actually have as an adult.
You don't get a
feelings.
feeling of.
I mean,
yeah.
For crying out loud, we all watched it and teared up at Auntie for crying out loud. So I mean, when you have stuff like that that's made as well as it is, it doesn't matter if it's labeled as a kids movie or not. A good movie is a good movie.
So
And
that's what I'm saying. So if you say it's a good movie, I don't know why I felt like you were shocked that it was 8 or as high as it was.
Because when I know what was in the same year,
But again, 5 months later, we'll do
and
it.
knowing, well,
Yeah.
you said it best.
Yeah.
Batman.
Well, that was the same. But I'm saying that was the same. I'm saying he mentioned a couple movies that were like months later, though.
Not only that, he had Ghostbusters before that. The Last Crusade is
And
literally,
then Dead Poet was still in theaters. Yeah.
but literally, The Last Crusade is considered somewhat better than Raiders of the Lost Ark to some fans that only like the original trilogy of Indiana Jones, that call it the Holy Trinity for a reason of Indiana Jones films. If you're not a Raiders fan,
Raiders the best.
you're
one.
a Last Crusade
Yeah,
fan.
Raiders
I
the
don't
best
know.
one.
No one likes Temple of Doom.
I
and
love
no one,
Temple of Doom.
I
That's
thought
the point,
Kingdom
though.
of the Crystal
When-
Skull was the best.
No, it wasn't.
When it came out, that was the weakest of the three. But at the end,
it grew on me.
I know.
Yeah.
But in the point of when they came out,
Yeah.
they
No,
weren't
that was the
thinking.
worst of the three. Yes, but it's
They
I
weren't
like it better
thinking
than,
of afterwards.
Yeah, I like Last Crusade. To me, is not better than Temple of Doom.
Yeah, I know that, but that's one opinion of you.
Yeah.
Secondly, looking at it from a retrospective of now, going, we have two worser Indiana Jones films than Temple of Doom.
Last Crusade and then, or not Last Crystal Skull in Dial.
Dial of Destiny.
Would you put Dial above Crystal Skull?
Yes.
That's
'Cause
definitely better.
I haven't
but-
seen Dial.
It
Dial's-
doesn't take much to beat Crystal Skull.
It doesn't take much to beat Crystal, but still. Now, Temple of Doom has definitely grown on me because it's like the first few times I've seen it, I was 5, 6. So like
That's fair.
the literal
That is fair.
The literal heart thing is like, oh, then you're like, wow, this thing actually makes more sense, and then you feel empathetic to be like, people believe that this stuff can happen, type stuff, and you understand that it does happen, and then you get to the point of you're like, a good movie is a good movie regardless.
Oh yeah.
But like nothing can beat your. Here's another part.
Yeah.
You can't beat your retrospective of what you believe is good when you're a child.
That's 100. You're spot on there.
No matter how good I feel about 7, 8, and 9, they can't compare to
1, 2, and 3.
4, 5, and 6
Or-
because I saw them before I
or
saw
1, 2, and 3
and
because
3.
they actually came out in your lifetime.
Even then, I didn't see any of them in the theater. I saw all 3 of them. The first Star Wars film I saw was the re-release of The Phantom Menace when it was 3D.
Yeah.
How was that, by the way?
It was bad. It was The Phantom Menace.
I'm saying take this. How was it in 3D though? Was it better?
No.
Was it cool?
How was the
No.
pod racing?
That had to be really cool.
Star Tours is the only way to go see a good pod race in 3D.
Fair enough.
But like that's literally it. And then like no matter what and how old I grow, no matter how many Toy Stories, Toy Story 2 will always be the number 1.
Yeah.
It's always comes down to the perspective.
Yeah.
For me,
So do you so when you grow up has a lot to do with it? Yeah.
yes. Like I do like watching Dial of Destiny. I may not watch it as much as Raiders of the Lost
But
Ark.
like people that are younger than us, that's going to be their number
That's
one
theirs.
for that reason. Yeah.
Like my sister, 7, 8, and 9 are her favorite movies because
she
those
has
are
a
the
reason
ones
for that. Yeah.
she grew up with. She could go to
You know
the
the
theater
funniest
to
thing?
see it.
The funniest thing, Mason, you and I actually didn't grow up with Ace. Like, Revenge came out in what, 05?
05.
I was 2. So I grew up with 7, 8, and 9. If we're being completely honest, you and me grew up with 7, 8, 9.
No, I grew up with the prequels because those were the
No,
first
you
ones I
grew
saw.
up with. I'm talking about new movies that came out in theaters. You and me
I don't-
grew up with 7, 8, and 9.
I didn't have to see it in theaters, but
But I'm saying that's not.
also
my
I saw
point is though.
Attack of the Clones in theaters.
I'm
What
saying
a waste of time.
I'm saying my point is though we grew up with 7, 8, and 9.
But I saw
because
the pre-
you were born the year Revenge came out. I was 2.
But I saw the prequels first. That's why they're my favorite because nostalgia. That's what I think. That's what you're trying to get, right?
Yeah. Yes, you might. Those are the first Star Wars movies you saw in the theater, so therefore that's why you have a high standards with that. But did you watch 4, 5, and 6 first? Period.
I watched them in not how they're made. I watched them in numbered order.
Release or
Yes.
numbered?
Numbered order, not release order.
So you watched them prequels,
Yes.
original then sequel.
Mhm.
So therefore, I get your theater thesis with that too, because that's going to the theater.
Yeah,
But as he said, he watched.
yeah.
Why do you think I said the original trilogy is still the most important thing? Because I watched those first
To my
because
dad, it
my
is because
mother.
the first movie he ever saw was Return of the Jedi.
Again, that's another
Yeah.
thing. He came here and watched it.
No, he saw it in Australia in a drive-in.
Okay.
Regardless,
he still watched it.
he watched it. That was the first exposure.
Yeah.
My first exposure, 4, then 5, and then 6. His was the prequels.
Let me ask you a question. It's gonna be really hard to answer.
Uh-huh.
You got one of them has to go. 4, 5, 6. Which one goes? Like from the history of Star Wars, which is gone.
the first one. So then Star Wars never exists. I can come up with it. I'm a billionaire.
And with that, we will
Not a valid answer at all.
be not a bad
It's
answer.
just
And with that, we will be going.
bye.
Peace.